I feel like they really missed an opportunity to make that scene better, but I could just
Ooh.
be a snob because
Talking smack about the metal scene that it's everybody's favorite.
I mean, that's the thing. It had every ingredient to be something super dope.
Hello again, and welcome back to the Hope You Hate It podcast. I am Jack.
And I'm Josh.
And we are back again with another episode. This week we have a long anticipated, about a month and a half we've been waiting to do this episode because Stranger Things finished. Season 4 finished and put out its finale.
Mm-hmm.
And we're excited to talk about Stranger Things and all things that is involved there. Before we get started into that, we need to mention our sponsor.
Ooh.
We are once again sponsored by Jury of Wolves. I'm wearing the hat, the shirt, and you can find awesome merch and cool stuff with cool designs at juryofwolves.com.
I'm wearing the tank right now. I just showed everybody. So
boom. So exactly.
And the shorts, but you're just going to take my word for it again.
You're not going to show off the shorts.
I'll do it in one of these things.
Okay.
10 likes and I'll do a shorts reveal.
There you go. The shorts reveal at 10 likes, at 10 monthly listeners.
Yeah.
That's a shameless plug, of course. Mm-hmm. I do have a stake in the company. I feel like I should say that.
We all do.
That's right. We all do. But before we get into Stranger Things, I feel like it would be amiss for a movies and TV podcast to not talk about the things that have come out or the things that are coming out.
Mm-hmm.
So as everybody knows, this week, the new Thor hits theaters, and that's very exciting. Definitely. Do you have any aspirations for that movie? What are your thoughts?
Ooh, thoughts, hopes. What I'm very excited for it. Okay. The Thor franchise, when all the Marvel stuff started, was probably one that I did not care as much. Like I cared a lot more for Iron Man and Captain America and stuff like that. Then when I saw Thor, I started getting really into it. And then when Guardians of the Galaxy came around, I really got into that stuff. And so now that we kind of have those worlds colliding, like Thor Ragnarok was probably one of my favorite things Marvel's ever done. That was so fun. But then Guardians of the Galaxy, it's right there with it. I don't know if I can say which of those that I like better. They're both incredible. So if this has kind of that same feel, which I believe it will, then I think everybody's in for a fun time.
Yeah. I mean, I think it has a lot to do with Taika Waititi taking over for Thor Ragnarok and then returning in Love and Thunder. Obviously, it's a genius. Just everything he does seems to be very, very awesome. But the Thor series as a franchise didn't really take root really until Ragnarok kind of cemented it in. But besides that, just past weekend, The Black Phone came out, which I was telling you about with Ethan Hawke. Also, Umbrella Academy, which I know you're very much into.
Freaking love it.
Yeah. That's and then also in a couple weeks, we have the new Resident Evil Netflix show coming out, which I'm excited for. Yes. And then also the Ryan Gosling movie, The Gray Man.
The Gray Man. Netflix. Yeah, I'm pumped for that one too.
That also has Chris Evans and Ana de Armas.
Yep.
Yes. So very cool for that. So that's what's out and what's coming out. Also, Minions: Rise of Gru. If you're a Minions fan, so I mean, if you need a family movie to go see, that came out this past weekend, and the memes have shot it to the top. It's making a ton of money, and everybody's talking about it. So that's definitely up there as well.
That's wild. Don't forget the Terminal List.
Oh yes, the Terminal List. Thank you, because I watched that in its entirety, and I feel like that deserves a separate discussion because there's a lot of movies and shows like the Terminal List. But I won't say that it was the best show that I've ever watched, but it was definitely worth a watch, and it is something to definitely talk about. And you haven't seen it yet, right?
I have not. I'm still working on finishing Umbrella Academy, but it will be one I will be on soon for sure.
Boom. Well, there you go. So thanks for reminding me on that. So without further ado, we're gonna jump into Stranger Things,
Mhm.
but I feel like we need to tell them that this is going to be very spoiler heavy. So if
Mm.
you haven't seen any of Stranger Things, or you haven't seen especially season 4, which came out in 2 parts, which was a weird, by the way, very weird
Yeah,
2 parts, like 7 episodes and then 2 in the second part just to be the finale.
and then
Kind of
the
weird.
very last one being 2.5 hours long?
Yeah, that was just a
I
very
know.
weird, like, overall, like, way to set it up. I
Yeah.
read something recently though that originally the whole thing was supposed to be this like 8.5 hour movie, like epic movie, but I
Yeah,
feel like we're well past 8 hours in these 4 seasons, right? So
yeah.
I don't know. They just keep writing. They also, even before we get into what's going on in season 4 and what has happened and our thoughts on the show as a whole up to this point, they already announced season 5 and will be the final
Mhm.
season. It is the finale. It doesn't come out until 2024 though.
Ooh, ooh.
So that's a
My
year and a
parents are
half
gonna be
away.
upset when I tell them
Not
this.
maybe even more than a year and a half, right? Like we're talking about 2024, probably not the summer of 2024.
I mean, hopefully.
So,
This one came out, around this in the summer, so,
well,
you
that's
know.
2 years
Yeah,
if it's the summer of 24. So,
yeah.
uh, cool that they already announced it. They've already got some promo stuff going on. We'll talk a little bit about their rumors of season 5 and the finale that
Mhm.
they've kind of talked about so far a little bit later. But again, very heavy spoilers if you haven't seen season 4. If you haven't seen Stranger Things at all, this may not be the episode for you. This is going to be more for the people that have finished it and want to hear some thoughts about it.
Yeah.
Okay. I before I get your like initial take, I want to get like a quick snippet of how you felt about season 4 as a whole.
Mhm.
I do think that for anybody that is continuing to listen that hasn't seen Stranger Things, which may not be very many people, but if you haven't, a quick synopsis would be good, right?
Mhm.
What is Stranger Things? What that why is there such a hype around it? Why did it become a cult
Yeah.
phenomenon kind of thing? Like very very popular and just immediately shot to the top of social media and obviously podcasts and reviews and blogs and all this kind of stuff, right? So it has a very cult fandom at this point.
Yeah.
Um, so the official synopsis from the Stranger Things wiki, okay,
Okay. Hit
says
me with it.
when a young boy vanishes, a small town uncovers a mystery involving secret experiments, terrifying supernatural forces, and one strange little girl. Okay, so
What more do you need to know?
what more do you need to know? Really, I think that one of the most important things is that Stranger Things deals heavily with your 1980s nostalgia, right?
Yes.
So you and I, born in the 80s, I remember very vividly a lot of the things that were just before my time, but like I experienced growing up.
Mhm.
Um, Obviously, very, very heavy with, your um, retro everything, retro decorations, retro costumes, retro music, right?
Yeah.
Retro sets, the high schools, the very clicky high school, the jocks and the nerds
Yeah.
and the band, all of that stuff that's going on in high school. I mean, obviously it still goes on today, but very, very heavily like nostalgia looking at your
Yes.
typical 1980s small town, right? Um, Dungeons and Dragons is a huge underlying theme that
Mhm.
continues to weave its way in and out from season 1 all the way until season 4.
Yeah.
And again, spoilers, once you hit season 4, you realize that it's literally based out of a Dungeons and Dragons campaign,
Yeah.
um, down to the villains and the characters and the plots and all that,
Mhm.
which is very cool if you're into D&D. If you're not, I'm sure you learned a lot about D&D. And I know for a
Mhm.
fact that season 1 sparked a ton of
Oh,
interest in
yeah.
Dungeons and Dragons for people that would have never even looked at the game as or gave it a second glance, right?
Yeah.
So, for anybody that hasn't started it, definitely I recommend you, if you're looking for something that's very nostalgia heavy in the 80s, and classic music and classic vibes and themes as far as that retro feel goes.
Yeah.
It's worth a watch for sure, especially if you like sci-fi. But again, most people have already seen it that are listening, and that's fine. But I wanted to just kind of touch on you know where it kind of started and what it is.
Yeah.
Now, give me your 30-second synopsis of season 4.
Season 4.
Yeah.
It is one of my, let's see. It'd be hard to rank all the seasons. Other than 2 is probably my least favorite. 3, I had so much fun with 3. That I would say that this season brought a lot of the same fun,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of cool characters, the cool deaths. I would say I would rank it, in my personal opinion, slightly less than last season. Um, but I think it's only because of like a certain feel of funness that there was with everything
Mm-hmm.
in the prior season. I don't know. I don't really know what it was. Like, just thinking back on it, I remember just the whole time watching season 3 and just really getting into it, really having a lot of fun. And I did
Mm-hmm.
that same thing with this one. I just felt like it was maybe a little bit darker, which
Sure.
generally I enjoy. But like I said, thinking back on season 3, I'm always like, man, that was such a fun season. Like, it was just, everything was really
Yeah.
cool. It was just really well done. And I mean, but that's like saying season 3 was a 9 and this one was like an 8.7 or something. Like, it's
Right.
right there with it. I had a lot of fun. I liked all the new characters that were introduced.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I liked getting to see more of the Upside Down. I think that
Mm.
was
Okay.
very, very cool. Um, yeah, I would say that was probably my favorite part of this. Um, Getting to see more into Elle's past, I think, was
Okay.
really cool, and the way that they um, almost kind of mementoed you with it, where it was, they show you the end of it, or it's like a
Oh, right.
Tarantino thing. Like, you saw the end of it. You saw
Yeah.
when Papa came in and was like, "What did you do?" And then they worked backwards from it. And so as the season went
Right.
on, you got more and more clues to what happened. I thought that was a fun way to introduce us into
Sure.
all that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's interesting to look at. Obviously, we are always ragging on critics' reviews and
Mhm.
the scores that they get, but it's interesting. Season 4 has actually the lowest rating of all the seasons
Hmm. No, season
by
2 was
by
not my
not by
favorite.
much. Like, again, not by much, right? But
Mhm.
we're talking about um, the difference of 97% for season 1 to I think a 94% um, on season 4, right? So
Yeah, I mean, like, and
really
that's
not that
why,
much different.
yeah, gauging each of the seasons is hard because, like, with the first season, you had the introduction of all the characters. And
Right.
generally, that is always going to be fun and one of the best rated if it turns out to be a good show and continue on.
Sure.
Season 1 of most shows is generally going to be the best season.
Yeah.
But then, like, in season 2, it was like they tried some new stuff, and I felt like at least it just fell short with me, with, Elle running away and kinda meeting some of the other kids. I don't know, it
Yeah.
felt different, and I don't know, I didn't really get into that. And then season 3, like I said, was very fun. I liked the introduction of, Billy and him being
Sure.
the villain and stuff. That was wild. And also, oh, that's what I loved, Alexei from season
Oh,
3.
sure. Sure. Of course you did.
He was such,
Yeah.
he loved his slushies, and
Yeah.
that kinda thing. Like, that whole thing, the fair, that was very, very
Yeah.
fun. The Terminator guy, like
Sure.
he was a cool villain. So that I think is what I really enjoyed about season 3. And then season 4, like I said, it had so many cool things, but it was just a slightly different feel. And so I think uh, I wouldn't be surprised if more people liked 4 over 3 or whatever. But
Yeah.
to say it's the lowest rated season, I wouldn't agree with
So
that one.
again, it's interesting because I feel like there are two sides of that coin because
Mhm.
as the show has progressed, right? It came out originally in 2016, and now we're 6 years later. We've had 4 seasons. You have this, okay, everybody is getting older,
Mhm.
okay, right? Like all of the characters are getting older, not just in the show but in real life.
Yeah.
And so not only are they getting older, but the writing is catering towards a story that's getting more mature.
Mhm.
The actors are getting more mature, and so you have this like darker theme. Think about Harry Potter
Yeah.
from start to finish, right? I mean, we're talking about what, how many years? 10 plus
Yeah.
years,
A
15
lot.
years of these kids growing up. So you watch the first Harry Potter and you go, okay, this is made for children. But by the time you're watching the 2-part finale,
Mhm.
it's like these kids are adults. Like there's people being murdered. Like this
Yeah.
is crazy. You know what I mean? Like so you have this progression, but on the flip side of that coin, it's almost scary because just like the Lost effect, you have an amazing season 1 and then I don't necessarily know how far they had written,
Yeah.
right? Like, and this is something that we will talk about a little bit later with season 5, but the Duffer Brothers,
Mhm.
who we've mentioned before in the Hidden Gems, I think one of the shows that I brought up, um, has them writing this fall.
Mhm.
Okay, so if you haven't had it all done yet, what, like, you know what I mean? Like it's almost
Yeah.
like that you're waiting until this show is like successful or see what how it's like received before you decide which direction you go. So then you have season 1 being really good, and then they're like, oh, let's try this direction, and then it's not received well, so they're like, all right, let's bring it back in season 3, and then they're like, okay, let's try da 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 da, and then by the time you hit season 4, it's like, oh, we're doing this and this.
Yeah, I think, though, when it comes to a show like this is one, like, I I feel like at least in this season, if there was, like, big mystery stuff, like, the the whole upside down and stuff, um, that that was, like, really the only big mystery. Like, with Lost, there were so many different puzzles and mysteries and things that you're trying to figure out that you're trying to answer all those questions before the end. Where with this one, I feel like I have enough things answered that just you could give me 10 seasons of them having a new bad guy pop up, him come after everybody, they have to do some crazy weird mission to defeat him, and then end of season, and then on to the
Yeah.
next one. Like, it's to me, I feel like I don't feel like it's gonna be that hard for them to finish this, and that they're gonna have an ending that everyone's like, "Oh, well, I hate this." This show could set up
Mhm.
very easily for a happily ever after with the
Well, sure.
like, they don't have to do anything weird or, you know, have Elle disappear and go away forever. They don't have to do anything like that. This can
Yeah.
have a very happy ending that I think can make a lot of people happy. Like,
Well,
I
but
don't know.
the thing is that like I'm not necessarily saying the Lost effect for the fact that like there's unanswered questions and it's going to have a
Mhm.
bad ending. What I mean by that is that you don't write far enough ahead so that every season ends up having a different feel or a different theme because you're
Mhm.
constantly writing that as it's going through, right? Like
Yeah.
for me, season 3 was fun, but season 3 didn't match season 4, right? Because season
Mhm.
4 dealt very directly with the main antagonist. It dealt
Mhm.
very directly with Vecna, very directly with Eleven and like what happened um, with her childhood and etc. And like the whole progression there, and then
Mhm.
all of that. And in the beginning of season 4, you like you see all about number one and his family and
Mhm.
his father that's still alive, like all of this stuff, right? So
Yeah.
that's a very different feel than Billy being possessed and trying to kill everybody,
And the
and there
Russians
being
trying to open a
a Russian,
portal.
yeah,
Yeah.
a Russian Terminator running around, right? Like
Yes.
those are very different things. All the while, they're still pushing towards this goal that like Vecna's behind everything, right? So
Mhm.
if Vecna is behind, number one Vecna, what was his name? They called him three different things. It was
Henry.
one Henry, right? So if Henry Vecna number one
Mhm.
is behind it from the very beginning, right? Like he's the one
Yeah.
that sent the Demogorgon to capture Will in season
Mhm.
one. Okay, so where does that go into season two, where Vecna's behind everything? Like, why did they go off on this direction? And then for season three, they're like, okay, well, Vecna's so controlling, and like the portal and the Demogorgon and this, da da da, and the upside down, but yet we're gonna make it more about like, okay, well, the Russians are bad guys,
Mhm.
but the Russians just are trying to figure things out like the Americans are.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I mean with that. Is like
That makes sense.
you have it going a direction, but you also have this underlying like story that you're trying to progress. But I feel like if you don't write seasons by season like all together, like if I don't write out this whole story and say, okay, I want to get from point A to point B, which maybe you do, but you don't write out the details along the way, you can end up going, oh well, let's throw this in and let's throw this in. Oh, we cast this really, you know, quirky but like good looking guy to play Billy, and like the girls are gonna go crazy for him. So like let's make him the villain and like make
Mhm.
him da 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 da. Right. So like maybe that wasn't in the original like
Yeah.
script or plot line, but then you have that and you're kind of molding it as you go along,
That
which is fine.
that
Don't get
makes
me wrong,
sense. Yeah.
but I think it is interesting that we have such a huge cult favorite show that is being written from what it seems season to season,
Yeah.
unless they're just like saying, hey, we're just going to tell you that we're going to start writing season 5 this fall, but we've already have it done. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, that makes sense. I mean, I honestly hadn't broken down the show enough, but as you were saying that, like really thinking back, yeah, like it was 3, and I guess that's why, like, when I think back on them and why the one gave me this kind of feeling and that one, like I said, the 3 was very fun with,
Hmm.
like I said, the fair, the Russians, the Terminator guy, them working in the mall and trying to discover the
Yeah.
codes and, you know, that kind of feeling, and then Dustin having his girl and all those kind of things that made it very fun, where this
The
one,
never ending story.
yes, where this one was definitely a lot darker because we were dealing with what makes, I mean, I don't even know the level. I mean, you wouldn't even call him a supervillain. Like he is beyond
Yeah.
that. Like he
Right.
is like a
Evil, right? Like, I
literal
mean, it's just,
devil kind of thing.
yeah, it's just evil.
Um,
He's just
that
an
what
evil
created
entity.
that, and seeing what created that to an extent, um, has to be much darker than Russians trying to use a super portal opener thing.
Sure.
Yeah, so yeah, I totally get that. But I hadn't really thought about it until you had broken it down that way, so that was interesting.
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't want to take anything away from the show. Obviously, it's been extremely successful so far.
Mhm,
I do think that from season 1 to season 4, you do lose some of that like initial like pizzazz, maybe is the right word. Like
mhm.
it has lost its like shine just a little bit, because when it first came out, it was such a like, oh my gosh, this show is, the story, the theme, the costumes, the setting. It's just
Are you
everything's
saying the
super unique
pizzazz
and
for
cool,
you, or you think people in general?
just in general. And I think that kind of shows. Again, I know that the rating isn't, you know, crazy different from season one,
Mhm.
but you do see this like slight decline from season to season down to where we are. Um, I think because you do unfortunately have this like, okay, well, Will went to the upside down, he came back, and it's about 11, but like we're gonna stretch the story out because sometimes she's being helped, sometimes she's being chased, sometimes she's got her powers, sometimes she doesn't. So you just have this like
Mhm.
rubber band effect of almost like, okay, can we get to the point? Which I think in season 4 they're like, okay, this is the point, right? Which is great.
Mhm.
But even as hard as it was and as hard as they fought at the end, they're like, oh, he's still not dead. Will's like, I can still feel him. It's like,
Mhm.
okay, when does it actually get to where we're going to either see you lose or see you win? And you,
Season 5. Yeah.
yeah, right, right. Which is fine.
Yeah.
Again, I just think that you do run the risk of not losing people, but
I don't know. I mean, didn't
you lose
Netflix
some of the flavor.
literally crash when the finale was released?
The what for?
Yeah. So when the last
Uh,
2 episodes were released, like, Netflix crashed that day.
did it?
Yes, because of
No,
so many people tuning in. I think they released it at, like, a particular time, and when it did, Netflix actually shut down. I don't know how long it was. I saw something on Reddit about it. I didn't go too
that's
much
cool.
into it because I watched it later on that night, but,
Yeah, like
um,
don't get me wrong. Like I don't think
yeah.
they're like losing viewers. I just think that it's losing some of its oomph, if that makes sense.
Like I said, you just gotta dumb yourself down when you watch things, because like, I'm dumb, I don't see all these patterns, and I enjoyed the hell out of this season. I
Don't get me.
I
No,
love so much about it.
I really liked season 4. I think
Yeah.
season 4, maybe controversial topic or controversial opinion was I liked season 4 more than season 3, I think.
Mhm.
Because it felt like it finally arrived at the point. Like
Yeah.
season 3 was definitely better than 2, not better than 1,
Mhm.
but 1 was still better than 4, but 4 I think in my opinion is the second best so far.
Mm.
I'm hoping for a very mature ish, maybe not much more mature than where we're at now, because I feel like it's very tough to like put characters in a kid show. It's not really a kid show now, but
Mhm.
a show for teens and then kill those people,
Yeah.
right? Because like that's kind of where they're at right now, is that to really nail home the stakes, they have to kill people, including characters that you really like.
Mhm.
Rip to your boy Eddie.
Yeah. I mean, I would have to think that, based on what they showed us this season, season 5 is going to have to feel more like 4 than like 3 or anything like that, because
Sure.
they introduced us straight up to the villain. So
Right.
it's like you can't go to season 5 and go, "Okay, the Russians are the guys we're dealing with now." It's like,
Yeah.
"No, no, 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 no." Like, we know there's doorways to hell, and, like, there's
Yeah.
a devil on the other side trying to kill us. Um, we can deal with Russians pretty easy. Let's deal with it. Like, they can't ignore Vecna or anything else that comes from the Upside
Right.
Down anymore. I think we're going to be deep in the Upside Down next season. Um, probably potentially even more than what we are here.
Yeah,
Because they
I hope
know
so.
they know who they're going after. They know what's causing error. Because like before, it was always we fix a problem. Let's go on with our daily lives.
Right.
I mean, there is a giant hole ripped in the middle of the town. Like, they
Right.
can't ignore this at all. Like, so it's going to start off with, like, episode 1, there's already something
Yeah.
it's not like episode 1, they're at the skating rink and people are
Sure.
throwing ice cream, like, milkshakes on each
Right.
other or whatever. Like, it's instantly you're in the shit. Like, stuff's going on. You
Yeah.
have to deal with this problem. So I
Or
think so.
do you think that the town can continue to hide the fact that like there's something supernatural going on? Like, how has it been 6 years and the town is still like, well, we're getting earthquakes.
Yeah.
Like they haven't had like supernatural stuff going on constantly.
I
Like,
don't
how is that happening?
I don't know.
And the rest of the world just still doesn't know that like
Yeah.
this this town is, something's going on. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, like it kind of gave you hints with like the military stuff, in L this season that, um,
The government's covering it up.
yeah, because like before we were getting a lot of like the Papa's research team or whatever
Yeah.
was going after Elle, but this time it was like you had his team and then you had the government that was really getting involved in this stuff and trying to
Yeah.
deal with everything, keep it hush, like how they were handling the situation. So I don't, yeah, I don't know. I kind of have to not think about that and just think smaller, just on the individual characters and what they're doing and all that
Sure.
to enjoy it.
I mean, all right. So I'm going to ask you what your favorite moment of
Hmm.
season 4 was. So get ready for that. But before we get there, one thing that I will say that I just do not like about season 4 or this show in general or just other shows like this.
Hmm.
So I don't like the teen, the high school portrayal or like college portrayal where they throw everything in your face to tell you that these actors are kids in high school. Like the
Hmm.
cliques, the nonstop bullying, the like I understand that that stuff happens, right?
Hmm.
Obviously. I was bullied when I was little. It
Yeah.
happens. But when you're watching a movie or show, it doesn't need to be so pushed in your face that like, okay, why was 11 getting harassed everywhere she went? Okay, I get she was weird. So in class, like the kids were laughing at her, right?
Hmm.
They laughed at her about her diorama. She's weird. Like her presentation was weird. Why would she be talking about this is my dad? These are my egos. Like, okay, that's weird. You're
Yeah.
gonna get made fun of. But then like it goes from there into now all of a sudden she's getting bullied outside. She doesn't even rat out the girl, right? She doesn't tell on the girl. She's like, I fell. The
Hmm.
teacher just immediately goes to the girl and is like, all right, you're coming with me. And the
Hmm.
girl looks at 11 like she just snitched on her.
Yeah.
Like, okay, first of all, that would never happen. That makes no sense. Then she takes that and then creates this whole elaborate skating rink prank. Where are the adults running the skating rink? There's kids everywhere.
Yeah.
There's a kid in the DJ booth. There's a kid
He looked like an
handing out
adult in the
rollers.
DJ booth that was the actual
But
DJ. He would look like he was in his 30s.
I mean, he was a child. Did you see how he played out the prank? He was a child. He was
Oh,
like
he was very
maybe some.
immature, but
No, he was not in his 30s. He was
I don't know.
supposed to be like one of their friends or like somebody that went to school that also wanted to pull the prank on 11.
Maybe I'm misremembering things.
But like there's no adults behind like the
Yeah.
roller skate counter,
No, I see what you're
right?
saying.
And then all of a sudden they have all of these kids surrounding her on the like where are the adults? Where's the chaperones? We don't need to like pander to the fact that these are kids in high school. Like we get it, we know.
Mhm.
But they like go so over the top to the point where it's like, yo, this would never happen. And also, like a fight would just break out and then all the teachers would come running in and it would be over in 10 seconds.
Mhm.
Like this is not going to go on for like 2 weeks
Yeah.
of a 8th grade like harassing.
I don't know, like, to me, it wasn't as much highlighting the fact that they were in high school, but highlighting the fact that Elle felt weird, distance, and alone, because the whole thing was she was moving away from Mike and gonna be there starting and that she was lying to Mike about how well things were going and this so, I mean,
Sure.
yeah, they over dramatize things to highlight that stuff, but I think it was more the telling of what Elle was feeling inside and how she was dealing with things. She already was weird before, but now she's weird and no powers. So it's like
Yeah.
before, if you're weird but you have superpowers, you can kind of justify it's like, "Okay, whatever. I could still pop your head like a watermelon if I
Yeah.
wanted to." And now it's like, I can't do anything. I'm weak. I'm alone. I'm far away from all my friends. I don't know how to handle it. So it really I don't know. I think those kind of things help you um, emotionally attach to characters better,
Mhm.
even if they are a little bit over the top and stuff. I mean, I know when I was watching the um the roller skating scene
Mhm.
when when she walked up and hit her in the face with a roller skate, I was like, "Yeah!" Like, you know, it's a
Why wasn't she immediately arrested?
uh, I don't know, because she was a child, maybe they had to ask more questions and deal with it that way, but I just know that, like, I was sweating while she was getting bullied, and I was cheering when she knocked her in the face. So
Sure.
even if it was, like, silly, over dramatized,
It's
like,
just over
teenage high school
dramatized
stuff, like,
cliches is what it is. It's the cliches that they play on
it got
and
me.
just
I
I
tell you,
mean,
like, I was
I'm not
hot. I
surprised.
was hot in the insides from watching her get bullied.
Watching her get bullied.
I was
I mean,
so angry, and it's like,
I
but if a
I
show
yeah.
can pull out those kind of emotions in you, even if it is, like, some silly stuff, maybe they just know with most people, if I'm most people, that they can hit us on those kind of levels. If I don't,
Yeah.
like, really separate myself out from it, that they go, "Okay, we know this is a little bit silly, but a majority of people are gonna get wrapped up in this and get emotionally involved in it." And so that's why they hit it from that way. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it
What
makes
do I
sense. I think it's a pet peeve of mine whenever movies and shows harp on high school cliches
know?
to
Mhm.
like it's kind of like the "how you do fellow children" and it's like
Yeah,
the 40-year-old in the
I
backwards
feel
hat.
you,
Like
I feel you.
you don't need to tell me that they're in high school. I get it. I can see that. They're young.
Mm.
Like I don't know. Anyways, enough of that. What is your favorite moment in season 4?
Do you wanna guess it?
Ah, I mean, are you going to be cliche and say that it was Eddie playing Metallica to the swirling bats?
See, that is the part that should have been my favorite
Okay, but it wasn't because that's awesome if it's not because
because
that's everybody's favorite.
well, the my only issue is Stranger Things has done incredible work with their soundtracks. I
Yeah.
mean, the intro synthwave stuff, the way that,
Hmm.
like, when, season 3, they did the Neverending Story song,
Oh yeah,
thing blew up. Now, this season, they had a thing with,
the
the
Kate
Kate Bush
Bush.
song that
Yeah,
apparently it broke, like, 3 Guinness World Records because of the
for
season.
plays.
Like, I
Sure.
don't know exactly which records it broke, but they were talking about that, and it was just like
Well,
yeah, and it's like you hear the song and you're immediately sucked into the show. So they've done
sure.
a really good job of finding gems that we hadn't thought of in a while and bringing it
Hmm.
back to us and hitting us in, like, an area of our heart and brain that we'd forgotten was even there. Like, when the
Yeah.
Neverending Story played, it was like, I hadn't heard this song in 30 years. And
Yeah.
now all of a sudden it's like, I wanna play it on repeat in my room. Like, it's
Yeah.
and it's such a goofy, song. So
I
it's like
love that song.
I
It's awesome.
know, right? And I mean, the same thing, like, with the Kate Bush song, like, it's still every time it hits, it's just like, you're just jamming with it because they did
Yeah.
such a good job with it. And then here's a
Uh,
chance to really,
mhm.
like, do something cool with metal. I mean, the
Yeah.
idea of him getting up on the roof to bring in all the crazy goblin bats
Yeah.
with rocking out on a I mean, that guitar looked freaking dope,
Yeah. It
you
was
know? And
awesome.
so he's gonna do this whole thing, and then they just play Metallica. Like, it's
Yeah.
the drums, the sing like, everything,
Yeah.
instead of him just, like it would have been very cool to see him actually I mean, and not really saying, like, actually play guitar, but actually have, like, a guitar on an amp sound for a while or something to really
Didn't he do that to start, or did they immediately go into the
I
Metallica
don't
song? I don't
if they
remember
did, they
specifically.
did it quick, and
Yeah.
also, I mean, like Masters of Puppet, great song, I love it,
Mhm.
but I heard it 3 days prior to watching that when I was watching Old School, and they're
Sure.
you know, so it's like, it I feel like they really missed an opportunity to make that scene better, but I could just
Ooh.
be a snob because yeah,
Talking smack about the metal scene that it's everybody's favorite.
because I mean, that's the thing. It had every ingredient to be something super dope. He's standing on
Mhm.
the roof of a trailer. You have the upside down sky, which always looks incredible. You have demon
Awesome, yeah.
bats flying around like crazy. the scene also has Dustin in it, who's
Right.
an awesome
Hilarious.
character. He's always
Yeah.
funny. He's very cool, you know. And then he's like, "I'm gonna play something metal," and to go to it's like when someone picks up a guitar, they're like, "All right, I'm gonna play something and it's Smoke on the Water," or whatever. It's just
Why are you hating on Metallica, bro?
I'm not. I like I said, I love Metallica, but that was to me, Stranger Things has always done such a good job of grabbing those different songs. And like
Sure.
earlier, he had picked up, when they're trying to find a cassette for Mike's sister. What's her
Mm-hmm.
face? Um,
Angelica?
no,
No. Erica?
no,
Yes.
no, the Wheeler girl,
Oh, Nancy.
Nancy. Yes.
I thought for some reason I thought you were talking about Lucas. Sorry.
No, no, no.
The
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So when Nancy, it was like at the scene where they were going back and forth through the trailer, they had the sheets through the little portal or whatever.
Yeah.
And Nancy is spaced out with Vecna, and they're going through Eddie's room and they're grabbing all these different, cassettes and whatnot. And they're
Mm-hmm.
going, "Where's the music?" And he holds up like an Iron Maiden cassette, and he's like, "This is music." So it's like,
Oh yeah.
I feel like an Iron Maiden song would have hit a lot better.
Uh, but
'Cause
you can't do that because it's all about the nostalgia. People hear Master of Puppets, and
I
that's
don't know.
that's the jam.
I don't know.
That's
Maybe
Metallica.
so. Maybe so. Like I said,
That's what
maybe
it
I'm being
is.
nitpicky at the part, but I really when it started playing, I was kinda like, "Oh, that's cool, it's Master of Puppets." But then I was like, "I really wish that coulda hit different." I don't know. So, I mean, it was still a fun scene. Um, I don't know really outside of some of that stuff with I liked the Dustin and Eddie stuff. I liked um I don't know. I don't know. I liked Eddie battling the bats with the shield and that kind of thing. Um
Hmm.
I don't know. I know you told me to think about it, but then we started talking and I was having a hard time thinking about it. Um so I don't know. I like
You don't have one?
I don't know if there's a particular moment that was really I mean, that one was the metal scene was made up to be like a memorable scene. Where like there's a lot of
Yeah.
scenes that anything can happen, you can move on or whatever. But like that one's made to be like, here's a screenshot of this. This signifies what we've been doing this whole season. So I mean, it was made to be a giant scene. So
Sure.
it kind of steals the show in a lot of ways where it's hard to go like, well, I did like that scene where Steve was running around with an axe or whatever.
Yeah.
Like it's hard to compare that to like such an epic scene when they put together something like they did
I
with
mean,
that.
but you're forgetting about the scene that Max is almost taken by Vecna, and then she's like, it's like slow motion being like raised up into the air, and they're trying to find the music, and she's like dealing with Vecna. Like that's a pretty crazy scene.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there were Hopper chopping the head off a Demigorgon with a sword
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
is pretty dope. So it's like, I mean, there's so many different cool ones like that I don't know if I could really pinpoint an absolute favorite. Maybe I'll
There
continue
is,
thinking.
well, but I'm just gonna give you mine because
Hmm.
I think that the most memorable cinematic moment in the entire show, very maybe even in the entire show, I'm gonna say season 4, but uh, at the beginning of season 4, at I think it's end of episode 1 or episode 2, I can't remember,
Hmm.
when the Hellfire Club is playing D&D
Ooh,
and Lucas
I know what
is
you're talking about.
has to sub in for the basketball game.
Yes, and so his
And
sister
as it's
takes
like
over.
counting down, they're also fighting, right? They're
Hmm.
fighting the main bad guy. They're fighting Vecna, I think,
Yeah,
actually,
I think
in
so.
the D&D game, which is interesting. And like they do the roll, and like the rolls in slow motion and the basketballs in slow motion. And
Hmm.
they do like the cut back and forth. It was superb.
That's
Very
very
well
true.
done.
But did it drive you crazy that all she did was roll hit die and not damage die?
Well,
Because she's like, I don't
wasn't he low enough
I
that
think
it didn't
they said
matter?
that he had, like, 9 health, and
Mm.
then she
So
rolled and she hit. She did not crit, so it wasn't double
okay,
damage. She got a
but you're
19 because
also
she hit.
yeah, but
So,
you're also used to playing D&D characters that never reach level 5.
yeah,
She was a level
I
14 or something like that. Every single one of her damage abilities are going to do more than 9, even if she only rolled ones.
it's possible. I just
So, just
I
saying.
just thought it was funny that it was like, "She didn't roll damage yet." Like, because I know when I roll
They don't
damage, I
matter.
get, like, 1s and 2s, and Vector would be
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, you hit me, but I'm still here, bitch." Blah, blah. Like, so
Nah, it
I
wouldn't have
was like,
mattered.
"It's not over yet. It's not over. I need the damage. I need to know what the damage is." So, that's like the same
That's
as
funny.
me with my Eddie and playing Metallica. That scene,
Yeah,
I loved it, and then I was like, "She didn't roll damage yet. This is crazy. I need
that's so
damage."
funny. There's so two things. One, I want to just real quick kind of go over the cast because I think this
Mhm,
is a very unique show that it has not only had a crazy effect on um like this genre of show and just the cult fandom in general, but also
mhm,
it really launched the careers of some very young
mhm,
actors, and then also brought back or brought up resurfaced actors, actresses
mhm.
that have been good or been around for a long time, but like you don't really think or know about. Like Winona Ryder has been around forever.
Yeah.
She's excellent and she's fantastic in this. David
Mhm,
Harbour has been around for a long time. He's been in a lot of things, but kind of this kind of re-blew him up, and now
mhm.
he's been in a Marvel movies. He's been in other things. I mean, he's all over the place. But like the kids themselves, right? Like Millie Bobby Brown,
Mm.
huge celebrity now. Um,
Huge.
Finn Wolfhard, his band is now huge because of the
Yeah.
show. So like he was a musician, now he was an actor. Now because of the show, like his band's getting even more popular. Somebody like Dustin, right?
Mhm.
His name's Gayton. I don't think traditionally, without the show, he would have been able to jumpstart his career. He's a
Yeah.
unique looking guy. He's not a bad looking kid, but he's a unique looking person.
Mhm.
And these like him and Caleb McLaughlin, even Nancy, Natalia
Mhm.
Dyer. I hope I didn't butcher that. Like excellent in their roles, and now have like all of these doors have been opened,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah, I mean, that's true. I mean, I am generally not a fan of kid actors,
yeah,
um, some because generally kid actors are pretty crappy. Like, it
sure,
takes a really good show or movie to have children acting in it and for me to enjoy it. But also in real life, as children working and becoming that famous, we see so many different examples of the people that were famous when they were younger. They don't know how to handle
yeah,
the fame and they just fall off a cliff. And it's like, you hate seeing that kind of stuff, but then it's also like, it's hard to tell a story like this without having something like that. So, I mean, I hope that all of them can continue to do awesome things and that maybe in this day and age that people are learning how to deal with this kind of stuff a little bit better. I mean, I it's hard enough for normal kids with social media. Imagine
sure,
that on your social media you have every single person in the world seeing it and
sure. I just
looking at it, every single thing that you
right,
post, every single thing that you wear, what you said in the show, and people not
yeah.
being able to tell the difference between an actor and the character that they're playing on TV. So you do something, your character on the
Oh,
show
and then you
does
get
something
death threats.
dumb, and then
Yeah,
people are like, "I hate you so much." And it's
yeah.
like, "That's not even me, dude. That the director
That's
wrote
somebody
that. I
else's right.
read a
Yeah, somebody
script."
else wrote
Like,
that. Yeah, it's
so
crazy.
I hope that these kids can grow and do good things from here because, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, it's a scary world being as famous as what these kids are right now.
I know.
Like, it
For sure.
really, really is because, I mean, this show has blown up so big, and all of them, I mean, they deserve every bit of it. They have killed it. I generally hate so many different shows with kids and stuff. They're just they don't I can't relate to it enough. I can't have fun with it. But this one, like, I don't know if it was just the kids did such a really good job in the writing and the way that it was filmed. I mean, it brought me back to that time that
Sure.
I could really relate to it in such a fun way. So huge props to them. So
Yeah.
only wish them the best.
um, I think we've covered a lot of different things
Mhm.
about, and we can probably go on forever. Before we wrap
Forever.
things up, though, I would like really quickly some uh, thoughts about season 5 of, are you hoping for a happy ending? Are you hoping
Mhm.
for a realistic ending? Or, because keeping in mind, we talked about movie endings in episode 2.
Mhm.
And, is this going to be a twist ending, an open ending, or a feel good ending? And which are you hoping for?
So, if I had to guess, I would say you're gonna have a mixture of a feel good ending. Um, One, because honestly, I'm so emotionally invested in this show that like Joyce and Hopper have had to be separated for so much. Elle and Hopper have had to be separated.
Hmm.
Mike and Elle can't be like, all right, just like I can't handle any more of this. Like they just
Just get everybody together.
everyone just needs to end, move to the same place, be happy, chill. Um, I think that they can defeat the bad guy where it can be definitive enough that it's like, okay, Vecna and but we know, I mean, I believe, unless I'm dumb and misreading things, that like Henry was thrown into the upside down and became Vecna.
Hmm.
But Henry and Vecna did not create the upside down. So,
Sure.
but he is the whole reason that things are happening in the town of Hawkins. He's the reason that Elle is being involved with this stuff. So,
Yeah.
dealing with him could be a very finalized, we fixed everything. But the fact that the upside down is still there, you never truly know what other darkness is lurking in the future. So they could leave it
Sure.
open in that kind of way that the main bad guy is defeated, but the upside down is never truly gone. You're still going to have nightmares of this thing and never know if something's going to pop back up. But at the same
Right.
time, I'd like, you know, every season we've had, all the characters are like they're in groups going doing their own thing. They meet up at the last bit of the
Yeah.
season and they accomplish what they need to accomplish. And it's like, all right, now at the end of this, everyone gets together and they stay together. No one's like leaving or moving or doing that kind of stuff. My heart can't take it anymore. Like just chill,
Agreed.
chill. So
I'm gonna leave you with, I enjoy your sentiment. I'm gonna leave you with the ultimate middle finger to anybody that likes Stranger Things, because this is what's actually gonna happen. Okay.
okay, hit me with it.
So we're gonna go through an entire another season
Mm-hmm.
of the back and the forth. Half the squad is going this way, half the squad's going that way. They got to go do this mission because they're trying to figure out this puzzle of how they can defeat Vecna once and for all. It's
Mm-hmm.
already been leaked that Will is going to be the focal point of season 5. He's going to be like, because he was the first one that was abducted, he's going to be like the final connection, or that
Yes.
11 needs to close the whatever it happens.
Mm-hmm.
However, after a rousing battle and going both sides, maybe we lose a character or two for good, it's going to be revealed that the government was testing nuclear weapons and something went wrong in season 1. And whenever Will got abducted, it was actually everyone else that had died that night and not Will, because he was out on his bike going down the road and he was far enough away, out in the woods, and everybody else just thought that he disappeared, when in reality They did, and they died. And then they made him up from a figment of their imagination, and it's going to be very lost, and they're all going to have been dead the whole time. The end.
Yeah, that was.
I hope you hate it. I hope you hate it. I hope you hate it.
Oh,
you heard it here. You heard it here first. Episode 4 of the Hope You Hate It podcast.
That was
anything
nasty.
like that happens.
That was nasty. Exactly. Like I gagged a little bit as you were reading that off.
I didn't read it off. That's my opinion. I did not read that off. That is.
I thought you had the director's notes in front of you. I thought you had found them on leaked on Reddit or something.
No, that is my 2 cents on what would be the ultimate terrible ending for this show.
Geez.
I hope that's not the case. Of course, I hope that none of that is accurate. And I truly don't think it is. But yeah, I just thought it would be funny. Regardless, that's all the time we have for this episode.
Out of time.
Thank you for joining us. Yeah, thanks for joining us on our run through Stranger Things season 4. And if you haven't seen it, I hope you didn't listen to this whole podcast.
Yeah,
because that'd be stupid. But don't forget YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, wherever you would like to find your podcasts, we are there.
We are there.
We can find us on Twitter and Instagram. Post TikToks and videos and daily content of up and coming movies and TV shows that you may like and enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
But regardless, thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.
Later, taters.